Okay, first of all, for some of you who don't know who I am, I'm Steve Garner and I'm the Director of Athletics at Oneonta. This is my 12th year as the Director of Athletics and my 26th year with the Red Dragons. And I would like to tell you it's been a tremendous experience for me here personally, and I'm very excited for today. I'm happy to welcome everyone to our 7th annual Athletic Hall of Fame ceremonies. Today we are going to honor 3 outstanding student athletes and 1 team of distinction. Being inducted this year are athletes who have excelled at every level of competition, whether it be the state, the region, or on the national level. We have pioneers in our sports here. And when I say pioneers, a lot of times the thought is, well, older people. But pioneers in the sense that they have been willing not only to do well and to contribute here at Oneonta, but they've gone on to contribute in every way of life. And for that, we are greatly appreciative. Athletics has always played a very important part here at Oneonta. And for some of us who have been here a while, and for some of us who are returning, from the days of G. Hal Chase to today's, I feel, ever-improving intercollegiate athletic program here at Oneonta, athletics has fit into the mission of this college, and we hope has contributed to the overall experiences. We're here today to honor those individuals we feel that represent the best of what Oneonta has to offer. Just so you know, several times during the year, our Hall of Fame committee meets. They discuss several potential candidates. Some of these candidates are brought forward by recommendations. Some of the candidates are brought forward by coaching staff members or members of the community. We deliberate for several hours, several sessions throughout the fall and spring time, and as far as the semesters. And it's not an easy task, just so you know, to nominate and also to eventually select Hall of Fame individuals. There's so many deserving student athletes who came through the doors here at Oneonta. But somehow the process works. And at the end of the day, we come up with another outstanding class. This year, 2005, Hall of Fame inductees. With that being said, it's my honor to introduce for our official welcoming our president, who has been extremely supportive of all facets of life here at Oneonta, as well as intercollegiate athletics, Dr. Alan Donovan. Dr. Donovan.
Well, welcome to our annual Hall of Fame induction. This is a wonderful occasion for us and one of the events we look forward to every year. I know that at the halftime of today's soccer game, we're going to honor the soccer team here of 1955, and there are a couple of members in the audience who were there, Dave Brenner and Vince Foti. We'll be singing them at the halftime. But I wanted to confess to you, and I've never done this publicly before, that this is the 50th anniversary of what was my, I guess I could say, inglorious soccer career. I played soccer for Monroe High School in Rochester, New York. I hear applause coming. I don't know why. There are only 2 things I can remember about soccer in those days. The first thing is that the cleats on the boots that we wore in high school were slivers of leather that were nailed into the bottom of the boot. Was that true back far enough? Okay, so we weren't being mistreated as I thought we were. And the other thing I remember is just lots and lots of smelling salts. I got the kicked out of me a lot of times, and I can remember that was a big help for me. So there we go, and congratulations to all the 50s. Anyway, this is a good time for us to talk about what intercollegiate athletics means to this wonderful college. And as I've said many times, it strikes me that if you're going to undertake anything, you should do it to the best of your ability and search for excellence. And this is precisely what we have done with our intercollegiate athletic programs over the last few years. Let me give you some statistics, which is always good in athletics. Last year, we ranked 4th in the SUNY Commissioner's Cup. But we missed out on third place by 1/100th of a point to Brockport, and I'm searching for a way to protest that. 3 of our coaches last year were SUNY Coaches of the Year. Also notable were 10 National All-Americans, 21 Regional All-Americans, 11 individual SUNY champions, 3 Team ECAC champions, and a SUNY championship and NCAA berth for our women's soccer. And speaking of women's soccer, just a couple of weeks ago, they set a national record for the most undefeated games in the league at 73, and yesterday when they defeated Plattsburgh, it's now 76. Yes, you can, yep. Equally impressive is that our National Association of Athletic Division III administrators honored our student athletes for the 3rd time in 4 years with a Community Service Merit Award, recognizing the fine work of our student athletic advisory committee's volunteer activities. So if you listen to those statistics, what you're hearing is athletes, scholars, and volunteers. Represents the very best of what any intercollegiate athletic program would hope to have. So as we honor our great accomplishments at this wonderful college, and as we welcome the 3 new initiates and the 1972 soccer team, along with the other 64 initiates in our Hall of Fame, you can rest assured, all of you, that our varsity athletic programs are vital, successful, and an integral part of the overall success of this college. And gentlemen, I say to you, you can be as proud of us today as we are of you. Congratulations, and welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Dr. Donovan. The next individual that I'm going to introduce will be our Master of Ceremonies for today's event. And I'm going to introduce our Sports Information Director and our Chairman of the Hall of Fame Committee, who will get our activities going here today. Jeff joined us several years ago, Jeff Hazard, and has done a marvelous job of keeping us moving in the right direction at Oneonta in a variety of ways. Last year he received a promotion as Assistant Athletic Director in charge of media relations, so it's my honor to introduce Jeff Hazard. Jeff?
Thanks, Steve. Certainly a glorious, glorious day. It always is sunny and bright in Oneonta on homecoming weekend, so we certainly can enjoy that weather. It never rains on a soccer field, right, guys? Certainly wonderful to be here, and we certainly welcome all the alums and friends and family of our Hall of Famers. I always look at this day as a great day to kind of bridge the gap between the past and the present of what we're doing here now with all the All-Americans and the teams that are winning on a regular basis, along with all the teams that won in the past. So it's always great to be able to meet and greet the players and the athletes who are our legends, as we call them, not old people, they're legends. And it's just great to be able to see them all, and they're all healthy, and so we just enjoy the day together, so this is certainly a great time. The first thing I'd like to do is we have a Hall of Fame Selection Committee. They're listed on the back of your program, and the members of that, the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, if you are present, could you just stand for a round of applause, because we certainly do. They're tremendous help, especially to me, because they all know the old stories and they fill me in all the time. So if those members of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee could please stand and be recognized. I will say it's great to see Don Flewelling back from his antiquing trip today. Thanks for coming, Don. I spent a year closely with the women's with our softball team in 2001 when we were SUNY champions, and I used to drive in the car with Don Flewelling, and he used to just tell me stories and stories and stories. And for me, that was great, and it was a lot of fun, and of course we obviously had a great year that year, so that was even more fun. But thanks, Don, it's great to see you. This time we'd like to also recognize people who are inducted into our Hall of Fame previously that are also here. So as I call your name, if you could please stand, and at the end we'll give you a big round of applause. From our first class, Joe Howarth and Farouk Qureshi. Okay, from the class of 2000, Don Ball, swimming coach. Altamont McKenzie, Garth Stam. From the class of 2001, Don Axtell, baseball coach. Keith McCarthy, Desmond Monroe, Mike Pasinilak, Joe Spanfelder. From the class of 2002, Alex Brannon, Ron Magin. From the class of 2003, Donald Jester and Don Fuelli. If we could give them a round of applause. And away we go. Okay. Our first inductee today, Mr. Edward Ted Huntington. Ted was a two-sport standout during his Oneonta years in the sports of basketball and baseball. As a member of the basketball team, he was a two-year captain and helped Oneonta to capture a 19-1 record during the 1949-50 basketball season, where he was second on the team in scoring. During the 50-51 season, he averaged 16 points a game, while pouring in 38 points in one game against SUNY Albany. He also had an outstanding scoring average of 20.9 points per game during the 51-52 season. Ted was also a starting first baseman on the baseball team for 3 years. After graduation, he attained higher educational degrees from Colgate in 1961 and Albany in 1966. He spent his professional career as a teacher and principal of Sydney Central School before becoming a superintendent of the Canton Central School District. He finished his career as the district superintendent of the Warren, Washington, Hamilton, Essex County BOCES. Huntington was honored in 1985 with the college's Distinguished Alumnus Award, and in 1988 he was the recipient of the Distinguished Service Award from the New York State Superintendents. It is my honor to greet and please welcome Ted Huntington to our Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you. This is great. What an honor for me. Before I begin my remarks, and I know some people are keeping an eye on the watch. Yeah, there's only a couple minutes here. I want to thank my family for being here. My wife of 50 years joined me in a dormitory room that she stayed in 50 years ago, was here. My daughter, the two daughters, surprised me this morning with their husbands coming in. Ann flew up from Washington to be here, and Kathy is from Saratoga. Thank you for being here. When Diane called me a few months ago, said she was from Oneonta, I thought she was asking for money. So I kind of hemmed and hawed a little. She said, no, we'd like you to be in the Hall of Fame. And I said, are you kidding me? It was 55 or 6 years ago that I played the ball there. How can you remember that? He says, well, we have an old-timers division. And I said, okay, now I understand. It was 56, actually, years ago that I transferred from Cornell to play basketball under Hal Chase here at Oneonta. The team we had in 49-50 were a wonderful bunch of athletes, any one of them who could have received this award. We won our first 19 games and lost to Plattsburgh the final game of the year. It was a great record. Back then, you may remember, there was no field house or gym. They had a gym in the old main with post on the floor. We played down in the Armory. That's where we had our games. Unfortunately, the Korean conflict took away several of our players and Hal. And the other 2 years that I played here, our records were kind of so-so, but very, very enjoyable. I must pay tribute to my high school coach, Vince Ciliberti, who taught me the fundamentals of basketball, and of course to Hal, who was a wonderful coach here for many years and whose name still is on the other sports complex. My memories of Oneonta are wonderful. They trained me well for my career, but most importantly, they graduated my wife in 1955, and she's been the love of my life for 50 years. Thank you very much.
One of the main reasons why I enjoy this day so much is just for stuff like that. You just can't get that reading a book. So congratulations, Ted. Next gentleman, Hall of Famer, Ron Magin. Ron was another, Randy, sorry. Ron's his brother, and I will say thank you again. I knew I was going to do that. I had Ron in my mind, and even though I knew it was Randy. But they are the first brothers to ever be in the Hall of Fame at the same time, so that's a significant accomplishment. So congratulations again to Ron. We're going to induct Randy today, if that's okay. Randy Magin was another one of our standout swimmers that Oneonta had in its program during the late 60s and early 70s, when the Red Dragons were a perennial contender in the region. During his 4-year career, he was part of 3 SUNY championship teams, while racing to individual conference titles in 3 events. His crowning achievement came in 1970 at the NCAA Championships, where he finished 9th in the 200-yard backstroke to earn All-America honors. His postgraduate life included 33 years as a 3rd-grade teacher in the Canandaigua School District, where he retired from in 2004. He was actively involved in coaching, swimming, while being a certified official in the state of New York. After a quadruple bypass surgery in the spring of 2004, Randy has retired to Fort Myers, Florida, where he has become a top master swimmer. This past summer, he competed at the Summer National Senior Games in Pittsburgh, where he registered 5 top 8 finishes in individual events. So it's a great honor to welcome Ron's brother, Randy Magin, to the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, people do confuse us here. But I think I better follow my little script here. This is a very special day for me. And I'd like to thank Dr. Donovan and all of the organizers of this function here. It truly is an honor to be among the athletes that are on that wall. The letter from Ms. Davidson stated the individuals selected for induction have brought distinction, excellence, honor, and recognition to the college and the intercollegiate athletic program. I'm just humbled to be selected. I have those characteristics stated about myself. So once again, I would like to thank the college and the Athletic Hall of Fame Committee for recognizing these contributions. And all of my accomplishments, though, can be attributed to lessons learned from the role models and the coaches that I've had during the years of my life. I would like to take this opportunity to thank them. And the first one is my brother Ron. He was always the role model. He was 4 years older. We both attended the same high school in East Arundequoit. And Ron was a very successful swimmer, and I followed in his footsteps. And then he came here to Oneonta and met much success. And I made the decision also to attend this fine institution. Also along the way, the other role models were the teammates, both in high school and college that I swam with. You know, just going through those daily practices, the daily grind. I had a lot of good role models there to keep myself going. And of course, my high school swimming coaches, Bill Ware and Bob DeVos, and especially here at the college level. We have Courtney Lynch, who's not with us today, and then really a special thanks to Don Baugh, who is, when I flash back on my years here, I mean, he was instrumental in helping me reach the heights that I did. You know, and as we travel on our journey through life, our road takes twists and turns, but these individuals have been like guideposts for me. And so when I have come across tough times, I could always go back and reflect on lessons that they taught me in these formative years. And one of the most important lessons I've learned here while at Oneonta is that fitness matters. And again, as Jeff mentioned, you know, a year and a half ago, I didn't always follow that advice, and so my road was a little rocky. But and so then I had a heart attack and bypass surgery. But swimming kind of brought me back, and I was so happy to have something to latch on to. So it's just a real honor to be here today. And I think on that note, just thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy. Our next inductee, George Sealey. Sealey is known around Oneonta baseball program as the man of the late 70s and early 80s. The offensive numbers that he put up in a span of 2.5 years with the Red Dragons are still remembered and still just as impressive. After transferring to Oneonta in the spring of 1977, Sealey had to wait until the next fall to get his shot at live pitching. When he finally had his opportunity, he made the most of it en route to becoming one of the greatest hitters in the program's history. Sealey was a leading hitter on the team in both his junior and senior years, hitting .360 as a junior and .399 as a senior. During his senior season, he set single-season records for hits 68, doubles 17, home runs 11, and RBIs 66, and total bases 124. According to the records that are available, he still holds the single-season records for home runs and RBIs while being second in doubles. Most of the career records that he held at the time of his graduation stood until 2002, so when you think about it, it was 20 years before we actually had a player pretty much the caliber of George Sealey, when our senior All-American Brendan Heslin broke some of them. He was All-SUNY first team in 1979 and 1980 while being a two-time All-District selection. He was team co-captain in 1980 and finished 8th in Division III in RBIs per game that year. George has spent his professional life in the supermarket industry, and he is the current owner of George's Store. So it's a great pleasure to induct the owner of George's Store into our Athletic Hall of Fame, George Sealey.
Good morning. First, I'd like to thank everyone who has put on this wonderful event. Today is a special day for me to be selected into the Hall of Fame. But for anyone to get to this position and point in life, they couldn't do it alone. First, I'd like to thank my wife, Felicia, and my daughter, Natalie, for being here today on this special day. I'd also like to thank the teammates that came today. A lot harder, Coach. Bases loaded, 2 outs, me at the plate, it was a lot easier. To a special friend, teammate, and close to me as a brother could ever be, I want to say thank you to Jimmy State. Co-captain with me in 1980. A lot of good times, many good times. Most of all, I want to thank the man who made this all happen for me, Coach Don Extell. Coach, you were not just my coach, you were like a second father to me. You taught me the game of baseball. More than that, you taught me how to be a man. For this, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Diane, you called me at the store and you told me that I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the first thing I thought was, well, I guess it's my turn to have a joke played on me. And she convinced me at the time that no, it wasn't a joke. And she said she was going to send me some documentation the next couple of days, which she did. And on the bottom of one of the pieces of paper it said, "Do you believe me now?" Yes, I do. And I'm going to make it short. Finally, I just want to say to my mother and father, are no longer with me, but I feel them here today. I did it, I made it, and I'm here. Thank you very much.
Our final inductees, and inductees plural, is our first team of distinction. And obviously we know the tales and we know why, that they certainly are deserving to be our first team of distinction inducted into our Athletic Hall of Fame. The 1972 men's soccer team. The men's soccer team of 1972 will be inducted as the Hall of Fame's first team of distinction. The 1972 men's soccer team compiled a record of 16-2-1 and captured the New York Regional Championship en route to the NCAA Small College Championship game. Oneonta's run in the NCAA tournament began with a 4-overtime game with Adelphi that ended deadlocked at 1-1. They called that game due to darkness, I believe. Well, 4 days later, they had to travel back to Adelphi, and this time they said, it's not going to be tied, we're just going to put it on you, and it was 6-0 at the end of the game. That set up the big rivalry between us and the school across the hill that everybody knows is Hartwick College. In that game, Oneonta just kept it rolling and defeated Hartwick by a score of 3-0 at Demashki Field. I'm sure there were plenty of screaming fans that were there for both schools. In the regional final, Oneonta defeated a perennial contender at that time, Springfield College, 2-1 to advance to the national semifinals. A 6-0 win over Chico State set up a title match with host Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville, who was the host. Unfortunately, the Red Dragons lost that game 1-0, but I mean, to do what they did overall, I don't really think the score at this point would matter. So, I mean, it was quite an accomplishment. Our gentleman who's going to speak on behalf of the team for their induction, team captain and also Hall of Fame member, Joe Howard. Let's welcome the 1972 team.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the selection committee for recognizing and honoring the team of 1972. And I feel extremely honored to accept this award on behalf of such a great group of players. And the 4 years I spent here at Oneonta were definitely the best years of my life. And I think most of the other guys on the team would say the same. The amazing thing about this team was the fact that we were so diverse in our backgrounds, and there were 11 different nationalities on this team. And the fact that we all gelled together so well was amazing to me then and even now. So that was just really special. I don't think any of us really expected the level of success that we achieved when we started, because there were most of us I think we started about 8 freshmen at one time when most of us started, and so we really exceeded, I think, all of our expectations. Fortunately for us, in 1970, Coach Garth Stam decided to go international with some of his recruiting practices, which ended up in a number of us coming here to Oneonta, and just really just special times for all of us. Most of us, well actually, Altamont McKenzie, Desmond Monroe, Dave North and I and Frank Gazzo were the ones that were really just fresh off the boat. A number of the other guys whose parents had moved to this country were still very new at that time, so they were still adapting to their new culture also. One of the things what was very interesting too was Corky Lynch, our assistant coach. He had a bit of a tough time figuring us out, I think, at first, because but he always kept us smiling, and as we did him, I think. One of the other things about the college here that was really special for all of us, I think, was that how many of the other coaches and administrators embraced the team and the players. They really helped us out so much to adapt. And I would just like to thank some of those: Don Flewelling, Don Extell, Al Marsh, Ed Kessler, and of course Dr. Chase, who's no longer with us. But on the other hand, with the administrators, some wonderful people there that helped us through those times, and that was Vince Fody, Dick Burr, Joe Nicolette, and George Waddington was always very supportive of all of us. And we appreciate their guidance and help. 1972 was a very special year for us because in 1971 our team was undefeated. We didn't lose a game and we didn't get a bid to the NCAA tournament, and we were all very frustrated with that. And so we were determined not to be overlooked the next year, which was the 1972 year. So we took full advantage of that opportunity, and we played some amazing games that year. And as Jeff had just said, it was culminated really by the Hartwick game down at the Maskey Field, where we had over 14,000 people watching the game. They basically closed the town down. It was really, really special. When we did play in Southern Illinois in the final game, it was so special for all of us, but what was unfortunate was that we basically played on a skating rink. I mean, the field was literally frozen, and many parts of it were iced up. And I think we always felt that had we played them on a regular field, there was no doubt that we would have beaten Southern Illinois. And even on the day, we still could have taken that game because it was still very close and we missed a few opportunities. I'm not pointing any names out. Anyway, both Coach Stam and Coach Lynch need to be credited tremendously for the way they approached this team, because their style of coaching, I think, changed dramatically just to cater for what was going on with our team and the different cultures. And to their credit, they stepped back a lot of times to allow us just to express ourselves on the field. And really, I give them a tremendous amount of credit for that. So thank you, Coach, and Coach Lynch, wherever you are. So before I get into introducing the players, I'd just like to compliment the university here. I think since we left, there's been some fabulous changes, and I'd like to compliment Dr. Donovan and Jeff and Steve for all the wonderful work that you've done with these. I took a stroll around the campus yesterday, and the facilities are just amazing, and the campus looks great too, so I think that's wonderful. And Diane Davidson, for the wonderful job you've been doing with the Alumni Association, and for pulling these events together, so thank you for that. Okay, so get to the team a little bit here now. I'll try not to be too long-winded here, I promise. Our success was really due to the great group of players that we had, and who we all had such a genuine love for the game. And it turned out that this reunion has really kind of shown something else, and that was the love that we had for each other. Anyway, but the main thing that we did, we had so much fun when we were playing, and I think that was really part of the reason for our success. We all had such a great deal of passion for the game. We were fortunate to have a tremendous amount of speed on the team, and we had an incredibly high skill level. So most any team that we played obviously found that tough to beat because of our record over the years. So now I get into introducing the players here. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Carlos Camacho. Carlos, you stand up. Carlos was the quintessential poacher. His uncanny knack for finding the net was amazing. Carlos wasn't a very big player. He's a little bigger now, but not much. And he was amazing how good his nose for the goal was. And he was always such a character and kept us all entertained on many road trips. Next one up, Dave North. Dave and I came over together, and we actually were playing on the same team in England just before we came. And so we were very pleased with the opportunity to come here, as was everybody else. And some of Dave's attributes were his speed, his toughness, and his guile. And he was always a hard worker and just a great attribute and a wonderful teammate. And not only that, he's a great singer too. So he has CDs out, by the way. So. Another forward, Bert Bedos, who isn't with us today, unfortunately. But Bert had an amazing amount of skill, and he used to baffle opponents, and he'd baffle us most of the time too with the stuff that he did. And but he was very fast, and he was a deadly finisher. Another forward that isn't with us today, unfortunately, is Fernando Tiago. Fernando was a very creative player. He was quick, and along with Dave, they both served great balls in for the poachers in the middle, so to pick up. Next player is Farouk Qureshi. Most of you may know Farouk's illustrious career. He was selected as the Herman Trophy winner, which is the equivalent of the Heisman in soccer. And there's not much more that can be said than somebody that wins that award. Farouk's intensity and work rate and just his flat-out fantastic ability earned him that trophy, and 3 years of pleasure of us playing with him and watching him, so it was great. John Freitas. John was one of those utility players that could pretty much play anywhere, really. He played up front for us, he played in the midfield, and he even played at the back, and played very well in every position. He was strong, skillful, and had a very powerful shot. And John had a tremendous amount of talent and scored some great goals for us just at the right time in many important games. Midfield, we get on to Max Schmiel. And Max's energy and speed and his work rate always made him a thorn in the side of any opposing side. And much of his contributions to the team were overlooked, I thought, and Max was always such an integral part of the team and the engine room of the team, really. So it was a great guy to have there. And next one, Alty McKenzie. And Alty, he and Desmond were like brothers to us. We call them my Jamaican brothers. And Alty was probably the fastest player that I ever played against, both in college and in my professional career. For those of you that didn't see him, it was difficult to believe how quick he was. And not only that, he could do it with dazzling footwork, and his work rate was unmatched by anyone. And so he was a definite inspiration to everyone. A number of other midfielders and players that aren't here today, like Mike Ballard, Pablo Monroe, and Louis Robinson. They're not with us today, but they were all integral parts of the team. For our defence, and our defence at the time was just really pretty special. The group that we had was some of the most tough-minded and determined and physically strong people that I ever played with. And first of all, Frank Gazzo, who is not with us today, he's a Czechoslovakian that got out when the Russians invaded and was visiting his aunt in Canada at the time, and his family told him to stay there. And so Frank came down to Oneonta with to a lot of adversity, and he was a great player, very powerful, and just a real character. Next on the list, Ralph Perez. And Ralph was the senior statesman on the team, meaning that he was the only senior, I think, at the time. And Ralph's passion for the game was always apparent, and nobody worked harder than he did. He always gave more than 100% every game and was steady as a rock through everything. Next is Desmond Monroe. And Desmond was my partner in the middle, and Desi and I always had a great understanding between each other. Our communication just went unspoken, really, and we just seemed to know what we had to do to cover for each other. Desi was fast, he was tough, and we really missed him our senior year. So, because Desi transferred to Buffalo as he was on an engineering program that unfortunately Oneonta didn't offer at that time. So we missed him that year. The goalkeepers, Doug Koch. Doug. And Doug was thrown into a very difficult situation, really, as he came in kind of late, and he did just an absolutely outstanding job for us. And I think you still hold a lot of the goalkeeping records here, Doug, and that's something to be proud of. So, the other person that was a goalkeeper for us was Steve Plazinski. Steve isn't here today, but Steve was actually a field player that converted to a goalkeeper, and he ended up playing in the Final Four for us because Doug was injured. And Steve just did an unbelievable job for somebody that wasn't a regular goalkeeper at that time. So, and another player we have with us today is Sam Rosenberry. Sam was such a great team member. I think that was your freshman year, wasn't it, Sam? Yeah. And he just was always one of the hardest workers in practice and just did a tremendous job. And was just a great guy and was always eager to learn, and just a real nice, great addition to the team. And wherever he played, he filled in admirably. So we get Coach Stan. Coach was an amazing man who has affected so many people's lives in such positive ways. We're all really very thankful for the opportunities that he has provided for us. And his calm guidance and leadership is what helped make us successful, both as soccer players and as human beings. And Coach, I thank you personally. And Coach Dan was rewarded at the end by being selected as Coach of the Year. And he and his wife Jean spent so much time taking care of us and feeding us, and particularly over the holidays. So, bottom line, I'm wrapping it up. Finally, I know. This was a great group of very talented soccer players, but most of all, it was a group of really good people. And it was an honor and a pleasure playing with all of you guys. Anyway, sorry, there's so much more I could say, but that's enough, I think. So once again, thanks to you all, and I know you all feel as honoured as I do. So thank you guys for 4 years and your friendship.
It's always so nice to hear the Hall of Famers thank us, but we're really the ones who should be thanking you for the memories. I mean a great group of individuals who have brought honor to this college in so many ways. I mean, it's just not the games, it's what's happened after that makes it so special to listen to. So we thank you. Okay, so that's tremendous. Today is also a very special day for a group of gentlemen who have come back to celebrate the 50th anniversary of our first men's soccer team. We'd like to have those gentlemen stand at this time before we kind of wrap things up. Members of our first soccer team, the ones who started the tradition, so we'd like to have Vince Foti, Joe Spanfelner, Don Jester, Jerry Cooper, and David Brenner. Please stand to be recognized at this time. As part of today's game program, there will be a listing of a golden anniversary team that was put together that would include names from the past 50 years of men's soccer here. And if there aren't any copies left during the game today, if you'd like a copy of that, certainly we would get you a copy if you want one. So we're at the end here today. I did see Don Fuelling earlier, so I did not know if Don had brought his poem with him today. Yes, he did. Thank you, Don. It's been kind of a tradition here that we ask Don Fuelling, longtime softball, basketball, whatever else needs to be done, line the fields, whatever it takes. We would like have him come forward to read a poem that has kind of become a tradition here to end our Hall of Fame Day. So, Don Fuelling, could you please come forward?
People have asked me where this thing came from. I think the first year we did this, and I was the master of ceremonies, I had to get a way to get out of here. And I figured the poem was the best way to do it. And somebody said, "Where'd you get it?" And I don't know where I stole it from. So just have to bear with us. To the new inductees, congratulations. This is a special day for us, especially to have this soccer team put in. And I can remember that Adelphi game down there, how many times we had a chance to win that. And we had to go back down, 2 or 3 days later. But it's great to see all you guys. Here we go. It seems it's been forever since the first time that we met. We've shared some days together that we just cannot forget. There was work, and there was laughter, and there were tears and triumphs too. Successes and disasters, but somehow we came through. Yes, we worked to make things last, and yes, we had to strive, but God, our blood ran hot and fast, and God, we felt alive. It's those moments we'll rely on. They bespeak the way we feel. For we started out as iron, but we ended up as steel. And now in days that yet will dawn, although we'll be apart, those memories we know will spawn a smile in all of our hearts. Now take our wishes with you for blessings from above, for happiness in all you do, but most of all, our love. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. At this time, we'd like to thank you once again for coming to our ceremony. What we're going to do is we're going to ask that the audience remain seated, and we'd like to have our 3 Hall of Famers. Dee, do we want the entire team? Okay, and the entire 1972 men's soccer team to make our way over to the wall where we will unveil this year's plaques that are on our wall, and there will be an opportunity after that for individuals and families to take photos. We just want to get a group shot while we have the photographer. So if we could just have our Hall of Famers head over to the wall. And thank you once again for coming, and a great day, and enjoy the rest of the day. It's going to be beautiful. So thank you again.